What's going on, ambitious vet? Thanks for diving inside the trenches with us again this week as we seek to provide you the golden grenades you need to get yourself out of your own way and also fuel your desire to make an impact post-military. This is your podcast built by veterans for veterans as we dive into the trenches with today's top subject matter experts, share inspiring transition stories, and provide masterclasses to equip you to reach your full potential. Bottom line is, this is your place to go after immediate transition education expires. Today's show is going to be brought to you by Steezy Socks. Did you know that right now, student athletes in your neighborhood could have all the talent in the world, but lack the resources to continue to fund their skill progression in their desired sport? Kind of like you having the talents, getting out of the military, and not having financial backing to have the peace of mind to realize them. So we end up falling into entry-level security jobs or first responder positions because it's just easy. Right? I think you get the point. Steezy is a veteran-owned business based in San Antonio, Texas. They wanted to create a company that revolved around truly aiding student athletes in need while supplying the highest quality materials you've experienced in a sock. They're more than just a sock company. They created Steezy to disrupt the meaning of change. I want you to visit steezysocks.com. And Ambitious Vet, if you see anything that you like on there, make sure you use AVN Alpha Victor November for an additional 20% off all purchases. Again, also each socks sold aids a student athlete in need. So make sure you get out there, do your part, and continue to fuel missions that are way bigger than yourself.
It's time to get into the trenches, dig into your purpose, and fire up your life's fulfillment. The Ambitious Vet Podcast starts now.
What's going on, Ambitious Vet? I'm your host, Chris Hoffman, Marine Corps combat veteran who got out of the uniform, had 5 different careers until he finally realized that the immediate transitional education, like resume writing, interview prep, and job fairs, although was important to me becoming a security guard, fresh out the Marine Corps, in fact, nightclub security and event security, it didn't actually serve the deeper bullet wounds of my deeper desires to really excel and reach my full potential post-military. Hence why veterans that are getting out, 65% right now, the post-9/11 veterans that are getting out right now are leaving the first post-military career within 24 months, which what does that tell you, right? So anyways, if that's someone like yourself, that you're just trying to get out of the trenches, get out inside the civilian trenches of life rather, and thrive, inside your ideal career and deepen your self-awareness of your human capital gaps to really know what it takes to thrive in the civilian world. This is your show, and I'm excited to lead it. Without further ado, today is going to be a 15-minute solo masterclass. Ambitious Vet, I'm working on the name for these solo episodes, and if you got a better name, please let me know. Maybe a golden grenade launcher, who knows? And we sprinkle these in between interviews with some of the most badass subject matter experts in all different fields of life. And I hope that you're finding value within these. So what is today's topic going to be? It's going to be balancing being present while performing in chaos. Right? Balancing being present while performing in chaos. Man, if it was only that easy. But for those of you guys that have served in combat, you know sometimes when you're even in the field training for a buildup for a deployment to combat, you know that things and moments can kind of slow down. And this is kind of tailored towards that same idea. Is how do you kind of slow down time in the moment and performing in chaos, right? Now, I want to get super vulnerable with you because I think vulnerability is a big factor within the veteran community. Right now, just for myself, how this relates to me is just balancing being a father. Brand new father, 4 months into this. Don't know what the hell I'm doing. Just learning day by day. And my wife throws me articles to read. Balancing being a husband, a startup early stage founder, a good neighbor, family member, and a friend. It can really be challenging. And also just, if I was quite frank, just overwhelming. When you're constantly seeing your gaps and your friends, family, and your wife are constantly reminding you of your performance gaps in these areas of life. So it can be overwhelming. You can easily fall into I'm incompetent, I'm not good enough, and really just overextending yourself, which just, eventually just exhausts you, right? And, I have found myself almost on the cusp of this kind of stuff quite recently, trying to make it all work. But I think, this tool, this formula that I'm about to share with you, that I'm actively practicing in my life that I created, is having me kind of step back and really see the bigger picture, which gives me a hell of a lot more peace of mind. I hope it does for you. So what is this going to be, right? So before I dive into the formula, one thing I want to do is provide a tip, right? In the Facebook group, back in 2018, we used to do weekly passion-driven tips. Take this as that, right? It says, accept that wherever you go or do, people are going to be there. In some environments, you may have to lead. Others, you may have to follow. Or others, maybe even you may require you to be more laid back and just really be next to people. Enjoy, and really just enjoying the moment. So in other words, I know I butchered that, but really just accept that wherever you go, people are going to be evolved, and people have pride, people have ego, and they have expectations, man. If you haven't already figured that out. And your job is to figure out, hey, what's my role here? Lead, follow, or sit right beside people and just have a good fucking time, right? And when you can simplify it in those three filters, life can get a little bit more easier whenever you're feeling overwhelmed, balancing everything as either a high-performing ambitious vet or aspiring high-performing vet, right? And as I mentioned before, this has been tough for me, especially seeing all of my performance gaps right in front of me, and really also just allowing people's expectations of me, both communicated, not communicated to me, allowing that to kind of crush my self-confidence, right? So like two things I want you to be priming in your head right now, Ambitious Vet: acceptance and also expectation. Accept that you're going to be around people, and then also know that they're going to have expectations. It's your job to figure out how you want to respond to those expectations, right? So here's going to be the formula that I said I just started working on. It's helping me kind of slow down, gain perspective, and not just be so mentally or emotionally reactive in the moment, right? Because some of us, in my case being a Marine, we can get even 10 years after the Marine Corps, still get triggered and be in this paranoia, overly assessing things, risk mitigating mindset that we were trained to think like, attention to detail, stuff like that, right? And we can be over hyperly vigilant or situational aware sometimes, and we can really get in our head. So to combat that, here's going to be a formula that's starting to work for me, and I'm continuing to practice it. And if you got a pen and paper, write this down. One is going to be the environment that you're in, plus the stimulus meaning whatever happened in that environment that stimulated you to be triggered. And 3, self-awareness of that trigger, plus the self-awareness of the trigger, plus reflection time later equals satisfactory results for you, not for other people, for you, and also never-ending improvement, so you can constantly be just doing an after-action review, right? For those of you guys that are familiar with that in the military, right? So step 1, to summarize, environment. What environment was it in, right? Plus the stimulus, what actually happened, plus self-awareness of that trigger, like why did you get triggered by that comment, that action, that look, whatever it was, and then plus reflection time later, right? And inside that reflection time, Ambitious Fit, I want you to really just be completely honest with yourself. Have that be a conversation with you and God, and really just be honest with yourself of like, hey, this is kind of the overlay of the land of that situation. This is how it made me feel. And here are a few solutions that I could start taking on to improve on it in the future. Now, let me get this on the court for my life, because as a performance coach, as one of my side gigs while building the Ambitious Vet Network, some things that I constantly tell my clients is that, you got to get on the court. You can't be in the stands being a spectator, right? Think about it. The language on the court is way different than in the stands. People in the stands are drinking beer, eating hot dogs, and talking about the game, while the players are talking about plays and being in action. So getting on the court with this and being in action, I'll give you an example, right? Last night, me and my wife had some neighbors over for some wings in round 2 of NHL hockey. I'm a big fan of the St. Louis Blues, even though I'm slightly afraid of the Colorado Avalanche and just their capabilities. But we were watching that game, and I could tell that my wife had some expectations of me to be very present and very charismatic with our neighbors, right? Do you think that showed up? No. Guess what did? A neurotic Marine whose mind was everywhere else but the neighbors, really making sure the neighbors were getting fed, acknowledged, all that good stuff. But I was also in my head around work and just overly assessing the situation. And Ambitious Vet, it wasn't till I slowed down and was like, all right, what environment is this? Okay, we're in a playful environment. We're laid back. We're enjoying. These are people that I can sit next to and just enjoy my life with, right? I don't need a lead. I don't need to follow. Let's just sit back and enjoy this. Don't need to be in control or anything. And I don't need to completely isolate myself. From there, the stimulus was I sensed a expectation from my wife to be more charismatic in that moment than I was, right? More talkative, right? And that's what triggered this self-awareness. And then the trigger is I'm not enough around social environments with my wife. Like, I need to be doing more. Something's wrong with me. And I think us as veterans, we go right to letting people down more than anything. We just want to be everyone's hero. And sometimes we feel like a zero, right? No pun intended. And, this formula, moving into reflection time later, right? Thinking through it all, right? My wife just really wanted me to enjoy my time. She really wanted me to get out of my head around work and some tense deadlines coming up that we have, and just balancing being a new father and balancing getting along with the neighbors. And she just really wanted me to kind of be in the moment and enjoy and kind of just slow down. Right? And also, one other new action I saw to take in my reflection time was to sit down and do some 10-minute meditation at the end of the day. Not just rush from one thing to another. Really slowing down, getting in a state of gratitude, and being present in the moment versus, okay, did this, going to that, constantly reacting to stuff. And I didn't do that practice yesterday before the neighbors came over, and the result was completely disconnected, which doesn't work, right? So I hope that example works for you. I'll also put the formula inside the show notes below, Ambitious Vet. And again, thank you so much for tuning in this week, Ambitious Vet. And if you haven't already, make sure you go rate and review the show. I think we have around 24 4 or 5 star reviews on Apple, and a few on Stitcher and Spotify and Amazon Music. Wherever you listen to the show, make sure you're going and rating and reviewing it. And if you are wanting to be an overachiever, which I feel like a lot of ambitious vets are, go and make sure you're sharing it on your social media and share it with people that you know it would make a difference with. We need to be reaching more vets, and ultimately, ambitious vet, we need to be breaking this narrative that we're better off seen, not heard. Let's break that narrative one episode at a time, one veteran at a time, and I hope I have your support next to me. And with that being said, ambitious vet, hold the vision and trust the process. We'll talk to you next week. Take care.
The Ambitious Vet is available on all popular podcast platforms. Go to vettrainingcoaching.com to subscribe, rate, and share with fellow vets.
Today's show is going to be brought to you by Steezy Socks. Did you know that right now student athletes in your neighborhood could have all the talent in the world, but lack the resources to continue to fund their skill progression in their desired sports? It's kind of like you having the talent, getting out of the military, and not having financial backing to have the peace of mind to realize, those talents, because you get pushed into entry-level security or first responder positions to just make life easier, don't you? I know I did. But Steezy here, this is a veteran-owned business based in San Antonio, Texas. They wanted to create a company that revolved around truly aiding student athletes in need while supplying the highest quality materials you've experienced in any sock. They're more than just a sock company. They created Steezy to disrupt the meaning of change. I want you to go visit SteezySocks.com and use code AVN, Alpha Victor November, for an additional 20% off all purchases. Cool thing is, each sock sold aids a student athlete in need. Ambitious Vet, can't stress about it enough. Continue to go and fuel other ambitious vets' missions and watch how the world comes back and reciprocates your value add. Take care.